The British Labour government has struck a new trade deal with India, and it has ramifications for this country's GDP, but also for British workers. I'm so going to analyse that today. First of all, we're going to get the man himself, Nigel Farage's take on what he thinks has been going on.
So Keir Starmer has signed a free trade deal with India. Good, you might think. India, very, very important country, and one with whom we do need closer links and relations. And yet, if you look at the detail, it's truly extraordinary. So a company can transfer workers from India to the UK. Those workers here will not pay any national insurance for at least 3 years. So at the very same time, they're getting a big tax exemption. Taxes on British workers have been put up since the Labour government came to power. Worse still, remember what happened at the budget? Employers' national insurance went up by 2% for each worker, costing companies on average at least £1,000 a year per worker. And yet, companies that bring in Indian workers, the companies themselves will pay no national insurance either. It means overall, it's about 20% cheaper to employ an Indian after this deal than it is to employ a British worker. On top of that, there are no limits to this deal at all. And bear in mind that 500,000 people, yes, 500,000 people, have come into the UK from India in the last 2 years alone. It's honestly impossible to predict how many hundreds of thousands more will come on this deal. There's been no impact assessment, no analysis of cost, and absolutely no analysis of what this will mean for burdens on the health service and elsewhere. This government doesn't give a damn about working people. The Labour Party have this time, in a big, big way, betrayed working Britain. And that's why many people voted for us last Thursday. But for some reason, the government just doesn't seem to understand. Reform UK are the party of British workers. This deal is truly appalling. And I think what you'll see is Starmer's ratings in the polls plummet further.
So a good synopsis of the deal there from Mr. Farage, I think. He always puts things very succinctly, very clearly, very transparently, I think. And that's one of the reasons why Reform and Nigel are so popular. But back to Labour. You know, sometimes in life, I find, you find yourself in some situations, and perhaps this might resonate with you, when you're in a situation and nothing seems to go right. And you don't know what it is, why that is. On paper, everything looks like it should be fine. But for whatever reason, stuff just keeps going wrong and wrong all the time. And that's the feeling I get with this Labour government and their attitude to something called politics. Now, politics itself is a game. Okay, it's a game of sorts, and in politics, it's the game of public opinion. Now, there is two strands to politics. First of all, there's delivery, so you have to actually deliver for people and make their lives better, but also there's a perception of a better life. So there's two elements to politics. One is actual popularity, the other is the more boring stuff, and it's called delivery. Now, in 2010, David Cameron sent George Osborne across to India with a huge trade delegation, and the Tories have tried quite a few times since 2010 to get this deal locked in. But they were unable to do that because the Tories were not happy with some of the things the Indian government wanted. And of course, now that Labour are in, they're on the ropes at the moment, and I probably don't need to explain to all of you the many reasons why Labour are on the ropes at the moment. I mean, we can even go back to the winter fuel, we've got small boats, we've got grooming gang inquiries, Rachel Reeves obliterating the economy, even the recent comments made by ministers on the inquiry, Lucy Powell. All of this is going on at the moment, and it's continual. It's almost a never-ending stream of bad news for the government. So you can understand why, in this current climate, that the Labour government might want to present some good news and say, look, we've secured this trade deal for you here, and so we've done something good. And I was listening to Jonathan Reynolds on the radio when I was in the car this morning talk about how well the Labour Party had done on this and how they're the ones that had got it over the line and how the Tories have spent 14 years bickering amongst themselves. So, on the face of it, what's happened here? Well, there's been a deal. So, great. So, we can send goods over there, they can send goods over here. There's nothing wrong with that. India is a rising economy, not the least of which is because they don't have net zero targets, but we're not really going to go there because that's not what the government wants to talk about. It's an unfair competition, but of course India, without any of these strangleholds of net zero on them, they're a really growing economy and they're going to do very well in the future. And it's nice to attach ourselves to growing economies, especially in terms of trade. However, then we turn to the British worker. So what's actually happening? Well, as Mr. Farage quite rightly put there, the national insurance isn't there for Indian workers, and particularly for the employer as well. And what does this mean? This basically means that if you have a temporary Indian worker working in the British economy, that costs 20% less to the employer, and you get better tax for the individual, but this reduces in effect 20% of the wage bill if you're going to employ an Indian worker. Now, it could be argued, yes, but we're going to get all of these benefits. We're going to get this benefit over here, and we're going to make this here, and we're going to do all of these things. And even if it's the case, and it seems to be, that mathematically the British government is going to make more, you forget about the little man. You forget about the wage suppression on the people who are struggling the most in society, who are right at the bottom of society, who are struggling to find work. Those people who are trying to get ahead, trying to find work. What do? You smash those people again, I suppose, which is what the Labour government have done here. They've hit those people hard again. The people who are struggling most in society. And this is the Labour Party. This is now the Labour Party of the middle class. This isn't the Labour Party of the working man. And this is just another demonstration of it. They are quite happy to get a deal which makes them look good at the expense of the common man who is struggling at the moment under massive burdens of taxes, rising food prices, economy in the toilet, the unemployment's creeping up, etc. And so this Labour government does not understand that. But the main point is, I believe, is perception. As I've previously covered, in a few videos, one of the things that politicians have is a public perception of how they're doing and are they actually looking after the interests of the British people. And time after time, this government proves that it does not understand how to do politics. Basic things like celebrating a trade deal, it can't even get that right. They left the national insurance out of the 1,600-word press release. The only reason we found out about it was because the Indian PM happened to mention it. And of course, a lot of the detail in this deal hasn't been released. We're saying, there's a discount off this, there's a discount off that. I have a feeling that when the full details of this deal come out, it's going to transpire that Labour have walked across quite a few of the red lines that the Tories had. So in time, this is going to look bad, I think, because we don't even know what the true details of the deal are. But what we do know is, and what's already come out, Labour have disadvantaged British workers over foreign workers. And yes, you can say it's only for a limited amount of time that they're here and all the rest of it, and I understand that. I do understand that. But it doesn't matter. Because in this atmosphere, in this very febrile atmosphere that we find ourselves, where immigration is almost at the top of the agenda, it's my number one issue, and for a lot of people it's their issue. We're seeing huge demographic change in the country. We're seeing small boats land on our shores, and we seem unable to be able to defend our borders. And in this type of atmosphere, the Labour Party think it's all right to make a few quid at the expense of British workers by saying, oh, well, it'll obviously be all right. They're clueless. They're unable to do politics, and they deserve everything that they get on this issue. And I hope they get smashed for this, and they deserve to be. Because yet again, it's the British worker at the bottom of the ladder that gets stamped on every time by this so-called party of the worker, which has become nothing more than the party of the upper middle class. Thanks very much for your time.